Your opportunity to build net worth inside of this space is like none other. Real estate is the number one sector where millionaires are made in the US. And if you're doing new construction projects, you have an ability to cash flow through build and sell and build significant net worth in build and hold. Where does vision come from? The first thing that Scripture tells us is that God is a creator. The second thing that Scripture tells us is that we are made in His image. The ability for a developer or an investor to cast a vision, to walk on a piece of property and to see more than just an empty field with weeds, to walk into an abandoned building, dilapidated, tore down, run down, and to see something in the future of what it would look like when it's restored. That level of creativity comes only from the Creator. It is more than just a business, it's a calling. It's a calling to see restoration, to see multiplication, and to see financial gains multiplied. For the last 2 decades, that is exactly what I've done. And today, I'm going to condense that 20-year journey into this video. The wins, the losses, the lessons, the strategies. Let's get started. Hey guys, I'm going to use some notes in this video, which I don't typically do. I know this stuff very well, and so I usually just speak off the top of my head. But I made an outline for myself because the information that I'm about to go over is critical. And I thought long and hard about this, about what are the lessons? What are the things I've learned this year, last year, the previous 10 years? If you don't know who I am, my name's David. I have been in the real estate space for over 2 decades, going on 25 years now. And in that period of time, I've done everything from renovations to general contracting to ground up development. Last year, my brother and I did almost $15 million inside of his fix and flip business. We did 14.7 in total revenue. The 5 years prior, I did well over 30 million in ground up development. I say that not to impress you, but so that you understand that I've been around this stuff for a little while and I have some level of understanding. I'm learning every day, but I have some level of understanding, both what works inside of fix and flip and what works inside of ground up development. First lesson is to pick a lane. There are so many different ways to make money inside of real estate. Wholesaling, the BRRRR method, build and hold, build and sell, multifamily development, multifamily renovation, fix and flip. All of these things that I just named are all great ways to make money inside of real estate, but they're all slightly different. I've gotten myself in trouble because early on when I was getting started, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I just knew that I wanted to be in real estate. Real estate's cool. I knew that anything in that space, I was all for it. So every little deal that would come my way, I'd try to get involved in it because I wanted to be in real estate. But it's so critical to just pick a lane and stick with it because like anything else in life, regardless of how smart we are or how smart we think we are, keeping it simple makes life so much easier than trying to overcomplicate things, trying to run around and capitalize on every little opportunity that comes across our desk. So pick a lane and stick with it. This leads me right into my next point, which is never do a deal out of desperation. I can't tell you how many times I did a deal because I thought it was the last deal on earth, because I thought if I didn't take advantage of this deal that it was going to go somewhere. And out of like a scarcity mentality, I was like a little squirrel, clinging on to nuts to try to gather them up and make sure that I had a piece of every single deal. Never do a deal out of desperation because there's always another one. And I had a mentor of mine tell me that years ago, but I didn't listen to him because when he told me that, I was in this striving state of mind where all I wanted to do was accumulate. And I did most of my work out of ego. But with ego comes a lot of scarcity. And because of the scarcity that I had, I thought I had to have a piece of every single deal. And I was constantly getting involved in things that I had no business doing. But when you've picked a lane, when you have that clarity, then you're not doing deals out of desperation because you have a simple process in place for how you're going to build your wealth, how you're going to grow your empire, how you're going to expand what you're doing and incrementally get a little bit better every single day. At one point, 4 or 5 years ago, I was building houses. We were doing 30, 40 homes a year, and I was doing it out of desperation. It wasn't because we were making a lot of money. A lot of the deals that we were doing, we made little to no money. But because I had this scarcity mindset, all I was doing was activity for the sake of paying payroll. We've all had the deal where our gut tells us not to do it. We look at it and we know it's not a good idea, but the pipeline's been dry and we haven't had something come on our desk. And so we do the deal. And as soon as we start the deal, we instantly regret it because intuition is powerful. Our gut is powerful. Trump talks about it all the time. And whether like his politics or not, he's a very successful real estate developer. And in all of his books, he says how most of his decisions are made through gut instinct. Now, if you're getting started, I wouldn't recommend making all your decisions from your gut if you're just getting started, because you don't have the track record and the experience to actually have good instincts. But all of us, as experienced investors and developers, have looked at a deal, known we should not do that deal, did it anyways, and regretted it. That leads me into my next point, which is shiny object syndrome. This ties right back into the two things that I just said, which is when you have a strategy and you're not operating out of desperation, then you don't get pulled away by shiny object syndrome. If you're getting started, just getting a cash flow established and working towards something that's wealth building. But you have your strategy laid out. We've planned out what we're doing. What is it that the next 1 to 2 years look like, and what is the next 5 to 10 years? And then shiny object syndrome is not a temptation. I see this, a lot of young guys that I work with, they do a little Airbnb. And I'm not throwing shade because I did the same thing, but I see these guys who do a little Airbnb and then do some wholesaling and then try to build a townhome and just jump all over the place. And you never get good at anything. When you're a victim of shiny object syndrome, you never get really good at one area of anything. I don't care whether it's real estate development, wholesaling, fix and flipping, or any business in general. That ability to zero in and focus and just block out any deal that doesn't fall inside of your parameters, it will save you a ton of money. I've lost so much money because I had to get involved in something. A deal that I was involved in 2020, 2022 and 2021 was a 32-acre riverside parcel. Beautiful piece of property. Absolutely gorgeous. I had it designed for lake or riverside lots, large estate lots, and then patio homes. It was a gorgeous flat piece of property right on the water. And I fought with the city for a year and a half on this project. Year and a half, knew that the city, I didn't know, but there was a pretty good indication that the city was never going to approve this project. And I spent over $100,000. It was probably $140,000, $150,000, just money, not time, but money spent on engineering, design, attorneys, fighting with the city. And that doesn't even factor in all the time that myself and my team had on it. And by getting wrapped up in this thing, being desperate about it, having a shiny object syndrome mentality, I just wasted time, energy, resources. And that same $100,000 could have, or $150,000 could have gone towards anything that would have produced a return, not to mention a year and a half of my life. And so my encouragement is, once you have your lane picked out, you never are operating out of desperation, and you are not a victim of shiny object syndrome. That leads me into my next point, which is that leverage is king. It amazes me how real estate is such a great vehicle to leverage other people's capital and other people's labor. It's really a unique thing inside of real estate, and it exists in other businesses, but not to the extent that it does inside of real estate development, because you're leveraging the bank's money, you're leveraging private money, leveraging hard money, money that you've never earned. You're able to take it, invest it in a project, and 10%, 20% of $1 million, you put it in there, you're doing $1 million project. You might only have to put $100,000 in, and you're doing millions of dollars in transactions because you're leveraging capital. And it is a unique thing that exists inside of real estate. And the same thing with labor. As the coach, as the quarterback, as the conductor of the orchestra, we get to pick an engineer, pick an architect. We get to design a vision for a property. We get to lean on a contractor's labor, a builder's labor, and heavily coach all of these different people to bring our vision into a reality, and we're doing it with someone else's money, or the majority of someone else's money. And the trap that I see guys fall into, and I've fallen into myself, is operating from a scarcity mindset, from a small mindset. We've all thought at some point in time, I don't need to pay somebody to do that. I can do it myself. And I got to tell you, it's such the wrong mentality, especially as you're leveling up inside of your real estate game. The more that you can delegate out to a competent person on your team, the better off you'll be, because when we get trapped in this scarcity mindset of, well, we'll do it ourselves, nobody can do it better than me, I don't need to pay somebody to do that, I'll do it myself. I know a guy I just sold a piece of property to. It's him and his partner, and they have a really good thing going. They've got some real momentum behind them. They're making good money, but they're unwilling to hire contractors. They think that they have to do all the work themselves. So they're doing four or five homes a year. I think they did 4 projects last year. They'll never do more than 4 projects until they realize, like, hey, this scarcity mindset, this operating at this low vibration energy of no one can do it better than me, they're never going to scale past 4 homes a year until they can elevate above that, because it's not physically possible. There's only so many hours in the day. So we can't get trapped in scarcity, because the small-minded thinking is not how monster projects are built. It's not how communities are built. It's not how massive subdivisions, like, no matter how good you are as a contractor, you're not that good. I'm super fast. I did a volunteer project a couple weeks ago where we were building tiny homes for foster kids. And I was involved in this project, and they had a deadline, and they were really far behind. So I had the tool belt on, I had the chop saw going, and I'm fast. Like, I'm very fast. I used to frame houses and do roofing. I haven't had a tool belt on in, I don't know, pushing 10 years. But I guess it is like riding a bike. And once you have it, you don't lose it. So I was just flying through this stuff, banging work out for these guys, trying to get them to hit their deadline. But if that's what I did with all my time, if I never graduated past that, if I never took my tool belt off, then I'd be building tiny homes for foster kids for the rest of my life. I wouldn't be able to scale. It's not feasible. One of my partners is probably the best in the world at this. He's a loud, boisterous guy, huge vision, super optimistic, loves fighting with contractors, loves fighting with banks, but super optimistic about the future. Like, the economy could be in the toilet, and he's telling me how much money he's making. Like, he cannot get down. You can't beat him down. But his superpower is his ability to find people and delegate to them, and then just get out of their way. Even if things are going bad, he holds people accountable, but he doesn't, like, step in and take over for them. He doesn't jump in and say, hey, I can do this better than you. Why am I paying you to do this? And this is a dude that has almost $1 billion in real estate holdings. Massive, massive developer. And watching how he manages the team around him and how he delegates and then trusts people, it's really been a learning experience for me, because I've gotten stuck in this trap countless times. No, you can't go to the complete opposite end of the extreme, right? Because I know that's a challenge too, is sometimes we over-delegate. We can go to the opposite end of the extreme, and then it's not delegation, it's abdication. And abdication basically says, that I delegated that to that guy, not my problem anymore. We can't do that. But there's a healthy balance of empowering people on the team and getting out of their way. As long as that tool belt is on your waist, you're not sitting at your desk looking at the next deal. You're not designing the next community. You won't be able to do a large subdivision project. Don't operate out of scarcity. Leverage is king. I said in a video a few weeks ago that was about holding on to retainage for subcontractors. Leverage is king inside of construction, and it's true. Like, the leverage that you have in order to negotiate, to work with people, you can exponentially grow your efforts through the proper application of leverage. I want you to think about this as an analogy. You never see a coach run onto the football field. It doesn't happen. Didn't happen for Michael Jordan. His coach never ran on the court. Tom Brady never had his coach run onto the field. If you want to be leading the type of team that a Michael Jordan is on and a Tom Brady is on, then you have to get good at coaching. You have to be the orchestrator of the conductor of the symphony. That's the goal for you, because then you're tapping into real leverage. Which leads me right into the next lesson, which is always take care of your team. As a real estate investor, flipper, developer, the team is so critical to anything that you're going to do. You got to find the right people and you got to take care of them. Make sure that they're making a ton of money. If the people around you are not making money and are not successful, then shame on you and shame on me. Because the true indicator of how successful a developer is by how well the people around him are doing. And whenever I've failed in a project or failed as a entrepreneur and developer, you could see it because it started to affect the people around me first. Subcontractors weren't getting paid. Bills were being paid late. People were dissatisfied. And so your success as a developer is going to be clearly illustrated in the people around you. Take care of your team. Take care of your contractors, your architect, your realtor. It's like take care of that realtor and broker because that's the person who's selling your product. That's the person who's renting out your units. And keep them accountable. Take care of them, but keep them accountable and tap into that leverage. My next lesson is 1 bad deal or 20 bad deals is not the end of the world, but you have to learn the lessons. 1 bad deal is not going to kill you. Even 20 bad deals won't kill you. But you have to learn the lesson that there is to be learned. I've done stupid mistakes and then repeated it over and over and over. And it's not just me because I see my brother doing it. I see clients doing it. I see people who I know make a mistake, it gets them in trouble, but then they continue doing it. 20 bad deals won't put you in the ground. Like it might put you out of business temporarily. It might bankrupt you, but it's not going to kill you. And the only way you recover from it and you actually gain something from it is by learning the lesson and not making the mistake and moving on to the next thing. So that when you're coming back from 20 bad deals, you're avoiding all of those things that wasted time, energy, and resources. Another lesson is that lenders are everywhere. If you're having a hard time getting funding for your deal, then it's probably due to the fact that you have a bad deal. Lenders are everywhere. Now, investors are a different thing altogether. But to get a construction loan, to get a development loan, to get a loan to do a renovation is very easy. These guys are coming out of the woodwork. So if you're having a hard time funding your project, it's probably a bad project. You probably should abandon it. It's probably an indication that it's not something that you should be investing time and resources into. The next lesson is that your strategy should always have you leveling up. This is not in contradiction with my original point of pick a lane and stick with it. You should always be working towards doing more. The cool thing about real estate is you can start small and you can grow. I mean, that applies to any business, but in real estate, if you lay out your strategy for a year to 5 years, then you can start out with do something that allows you to cash flow in the beginning. Flip 2 houses, build and sell 2 houses, and then take that cash and do 4 the next year. Or go from doing $500,000 homes to doing $800,000 homes in your second year. The strategy should always have you growing, developing, pushing for more, because when we get stagnant, when we just do more and more of the same, we're not developing and we're not tapping into our full potential because there's always room to grow inside of this. So your strategy should always have you leveling up. Maybe the strategy needs to be, in my first 2 years, I'm going to generate a bunch of cash. I'm going to build 2 houses in my first year and make multiple 6 figures. In my second year, I'm going to do the same thing, except I'm going to do 4 homes and I'm going to make $400,000, and I'm only going to live off of 150 of that. I'm going to bank the rest of it. So by the time you're going into year 3, you maybe have $400,000 worth of capital. Now you can go to a bank. You can leverage that with a bank to get a couple $1 million and go do a duplex, a triplex, a quads, and build a project that now is building you wealth, because cash flow is great, but wealth is better. And when it comes to new construction, you can build your own assets. You don't need to go out into the marketplace and try to find existing inventory to have assets. So you have your cash flowing machine, you have your cash generating machine. And Cardone's been talking about this for years. Like, you have to have the vehicle that makes the cash flow, and then you plug it all into wealth. You push every penny of it into growing net worth. And in a really short amount of time, you can grow substantial net worth, especially if you're building your own projects or you're renovating your own projects, because you're not going out and buying property at fair market value. When you're building it at significantly less than fair market value. When you're redeveloping it, you're developing it at significantly less than fair market value. So you're growing your net worth, but always be leveling up. Always have your strategy pushing you to do more. Double what you're doing, and don't double activity. I've done so much activity where I just increased the level of work that I was doing, but it didn't increase the profits. Like, identify the thing that moves the needle the greatest and put all your effort into that. Even if it's just building a few homes, but doing it at a higher price point so the margin's greater. Always be leveling up. Always have your strategy moving you to the next tier of net worth. Your opportunity to build net worth inside of this space is like none other. Real estate is the number one sector where millionaires are made in the US. And if you're doing new construction projects, you have an ability to cash flow through build and sell and build significant net worth in build and hold. Because that is the next lesson. The next lesson is to think bigger. I promise you that you do not think big enough. I promise you that I don't think big enough. The more I've done and the more projects I've been involved in, the more eye-opening it's been that we have such a small mindset when we first get started in this. Like, I remember thinking that if I made $100,000, I'd have it made. If I could do 2 flips and clear 6 figures, make 100, 110, man, I'd be done. Like, maybe I could even retire on that. Like, that was my mentality when I got into this space, and I'm sure I'm not alone in that. I'm sure there's other people out there. Maybe you watching this right now thought the same thing when you got started. But as I've gotten involved in bigger projects, I realized how they're not any more intimidating. They're not any harder. It doesn't matter if you're building a skyscraper or a little 1,400 square foot box in a subdivision. They all fundamentally have the same basic steps. You have to deal with the local municipality to get permits. You got to get entitlements. You got to do civil engineering. You got to do architecture. You have to put in a foundation. You have to frame it. You have to put in an HVAC system. I'm oversimplifying it, but it actually is true. What I'm saying is true. We think too small. We don't look at the world and treat it like a game, because it is a game. Like, that's the neat thing about this, is when you treat business or real estate development like a game, it becomes fun. And it doesn't matter how many times you've lost. I've lost enough times. Just 3 years ago, I came about a hair breadths away from bankruptcy. Had to liquidate over $20 million worth of assets to avoid bankruptcy. And I'm still here. I still live in my lake house. I still provide a great life for my 6 kids. Because it's a game. And when we're playing a game, sometimes we're down, sometimes we're up, but the entire time we're having fun. We're thinking bigger because we think too small, and we're treating it like a game because it is. And my next point is not to sell yourself short. While you're thinking bigger, don't sell yourself short. I've been terrified. I've been terrified of projects. Like, couldn't wrap my head around how I was going to execute on something. And like anything else in life, you just put one foot in front of the other. And as you're walking into something, you realize that it's not any more complicated than following the process. This is where having mentorship is so valuable. A lot of my success is because I joined up with someone and I learned the lessons from them. I have a partner right now who has done so much more inside of this space than I have. And it's not because I need a partner. I don't have to be in partnership with this guy, but he's a mentor. It's a relationship that allows me to level up. This guy has just under 4,000 residential units, and he has a couple million square feet of commercial real estate. So I'm using him as a mentor. I'm learning from him. My previous mentor, same thing. He was levels above me, which is why I think mentorship and consulting is so critical, which is why I offer it. If you guys need consulting, if you are a flipper who's thinking too small, if you're an investor who's stuck in the same old rat race of chasing old inventory, That's exactly why I offer consulting. It's not because I have to, it's because I enjoy helping guys make that transition from being completely burnt out on the rat race, the hamster wheel of fix and flip, and moving over into the ground up development where they can get involved in legacy projects, like projects that you can really build wealth with and you can be proud of. Building entire commercial plazas, entire apartment communities, townhouse communities, residential subdivisions. And if that sounds interesting to you, if you think you need help, if you think you might want to work with me, there is a link either in the description of this video or in the description of my channel. And I would encourage you to go click the link, watch the video. I walk through how I think I may be able to help you. And you can schedule a call with me. And we'll get on the phone. It won't be a salesperson. You and I will have a conversation and see if we can work together. Because I also have to be selective about who I work with, not out of scarcity or marketing tactics, but it takes a special type of person to go from being in renovations and small fix and flip projects and transitioning into large subdivision ground up development projects. So if that sounds interesting to you, click the link. Let's have a chat and see if maybe we can work together on something. Because I promise you, you're selling yourself short. In some area, you are not giving yourself enough credit. I've done it to myself repeatedly where I sold myself short. I thought that I couldn't do certain things, and so I played it small. I operated out of scarcity. And it's such a dangerous trap. Think bigger. Think bigger, because as you do bigger things, as you do harder things, it builds your confidence. And as your confidence builds, you have the audacity to do things that maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you never would have done. The things that I have the audacity to do now, it's not out of ego. All of that, I've been beaten down so bad. I don't have an ego left. God has made abundantly sure that he stripped away any ego and pride that I had. But what I do have is confidence. I have unshakable confidence in my ability to execute on things that 10 years ago would have seemed like insanity to me. Even 3 years ago would have seemed completely out of the realm of possibility, because my ego's been stripped away, my pride's been stripped away. God has put me through the forged in flames thing and the diamond and being refined. It's such a stereotype, but it's so true. And the only way that we can actually develop the character that we need to develop to move into these things that 2 years ago would have been intimidating is through putting ourselves in situations where we're uncomfortable, where our ego can get bruised, where we can fail, where we can make mistakes. There's so much glorification of entrepreneurship and real estate in the online space, but no one's showing where they've made mistakes. No one's showing their flaws. My best lessons have been when I've made mistakes. You don't learn a whole lot from the successes, but you do learn from the failures. You are the architect of your life and business. Your strategy is so critical. How you lay out your life is so critical. How you lay out every move that you take, because it's about progression. It's not about perfection. It's not about executing flawlessly. I already said that I love mistakes. Like, they hurt and they suck. And almost going bankrupt is brutal. It's not fun. It's awful. It's awful. But it does grow you. And so when you're moving towards a direction, when you're moving towards legacy, to building wealth, to building your family, to building your community, and operating in the world as an individual who has character and integrity, it's not about executing perfectly. It's about crafting your vision in the same way you craft a vision for a piece of property. In the same way you'd walk into a rundown building and say, hey, I see something here that no one else can see. Or you walk into a field that's just dirt, and you say, man, I really can picture 5 new homes sitting there. Or I can picture an apartment building sitting there. That's how we approach life. That's how we are the architect of our lives. And for me personally, I don't do anything that I feel is outside of God's design for my life, but God has such a masterful plan for my life because he gave me the skill set that I have for a reason. God put this ambition, this drive, this ability to cast a vision, ability to work with a team. God put this in me for a reason, in the same way that he put it in you, in the same way that he gave you the gifts that you have, and he gave you the talents that you have. It's so that you can take that and you can build things that glorify him. It's so that you can build projects that bring him glory, because it says in Scripture that all creation testifies. You testify to the Creator. I testify to the Creator. Because when we're inside of our communities and we're making our communities better and our communities are prospering and they're growing and they're developing, it is us following the original command to be fruitful and multiplying. There is nothing more fruitful than taking an empty field and building a community. And I don't care if you don't like the idea of economic development. Developers, rehabbers, we are creators. We are creators made in the image of God. We are creators who are operating inside of our divine calling. Me personally, there's nothing else that I'm good at. Like, I'm a great father, I'm a great husband, but professionally, I was born to do this. And I suspect if you've made it this far into the video, you as well were probably born to do this. Be the architect of your life and business. And if you need help with anything that I talked about in here, if you do want to make a transition, click the link, watch the video, schedule the call with me, let's have a chat. I hope this video was helpful. I hope you got value out of it. If you did, please like the channel, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all of that. See you on the next one.